Let's talk about symmetry on the piano. So a lot of people visualize the piano keyboard like this. They should really be visualizing it like this. And that's because the piano is symmetrical. There are 2 points of symmetry. One is the note D in between the 2 black keys, and the other is the A flat in between the group of 3 black keys. There's a number of composers that have written pieces that are based upon this symmetry and also the symmetry of the hands. One example in pedagogical literature for beginners is by Chick Corea. Some other notable examples come from Bela Bartok's Mikrokosmos. To get started practicing symmetrically, it's important to notice that some of the scales on the piano are symmetrical. Most beginners first encounter this when they begin to play contrary motion. The C major scale, for example, is symmetrical with itself, all white keys. As you play contrary, you use the same finger on each hand. Another scale that's symmetrical with itself is the G flat major or F sharp major scale. If you're interested in learning more about the symmetry of major scales and their counterparts, I have a link in the description to a PDF of a scale book I wrote that explains the scales in this way and sort of makes light about how the fingering that we use in conventional passages is derived. Let's take a look at a whole tone scale that is symmetrical with itself and fits the hands really nicely. There are a number of exercises you can create using this scale. One of them was described by late jazz educator Barry Harris. It goes like this. You play thirds through your whole tone scale and then add in a chromatic half step between them. You can go up or down with this pattern. So if you want to use something like this, you can add it to your bag and you're playing, you might want to take a look at what kinds of chords are adjacent to each of these. This one to me, for example, looks like it has some notes in common or nearby with the A minor chord or the C7 chord, the C6 chord. So if I was to put this in a passage, maybe I'm in the key of G, and we're playing some kind of circle of fifths progression. On this 2 chord, to get to the 5, we can insert this exercise that we just practiced to get to the 5. More on the 1, to the 6. Sounds really nice. At the beginning of the video, in the introduction, I was making use of some diminished movements. Each of our diminished chords has an internal symmetry. This D diminished is symmetrical with itself, and the other 2 diminisheds are symmetrical with each other. And one way that we can use this information is by searching for other familiar shapes. For example, if I raise one of the notes from a diminished chord, I get a triad on the top. And I can do that for each of my inversions from this diminished. You get a very nice sound. I'm kind of doing it with just one hand here. But you can play the same thing with 2 hands. Maybe the left hand covers this one note. And instead of this note resolving every time, maybe we just leave it there. Now I have a sequential pattern moving in minor thirds with a triad up above. It's a really beautiful sound. And because it's symmetrical, it's very easy for the hands and the eyes and even the ears to latch onto this pattern. It's a nice way to create small blocks that you can play up and down the piano. I think in the introduction I was using this diminished chord with the same idea, one note up above, which becomes a triad, other notes the diminished note, and I played a passage with a stamping technique. I also played inversions. I also played inversions with one note up above in the middle instead of on the top. It's a really common sound in jazz piano harmony. You sometimes hear it in other styles as well, especially nowadays. A really nice thing to add to your bag. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you know of any other ways to practice these symmetrical movements, or if you know any composers that use these in their work, feel free to comment below, and you can schedule a lesson with me in the description.